A little girl reaches her hand into a dark hole in a cave wall, calling out for her missing dog. She can't see anything inside. She pulls out her phone and shines its light through the opening. Then her phone rings. And in that split second of distraction, something grabs her arm and yanks her completely inside the cave. Her brother stands frozen outside, too terrified to move. Then slowly, a hand reaches out through the hole toward him. He stumbles backward in pure terror. But then his sister walks out calmly, completely unharmed, as if nothing happened at all. Something is very wrong. Because whatever is inside that cave doesn't just grab people. It learns them. It listens to their voices, their fears, their deepest longings. And then it uses everything it knows to lure them back. A grieving mother who lost her son 5 years ago has just moved her family to the mountain near that very cave. She doesn't know about the missing persons cases. She doesn't know about the voices people hear before they vanish forever. She doesn't know that the mysterious little girl she found wandering alone in the woods is connected to something ancient and terrifying that has been feeding on human souls for decades. And she has just invited that child into her home. The story actually begins before any of this, on a dark mountain road near Mount Jang. A man is driving anxiously along the road while a woman sitting beside him keeps asking nervously if he even knows where he's going. The man is completely distracted by her panicked questioning. Then suddenly, there's a loud thud. He hits the brakes hard. He's run over a dog on the dark road. He gets out of the car, picks up the dead animal, and walks to the back of his vehicle. He opens the car trunk. Inside, a woman is bound and crying, begging him desperately not to hurt her. But the man ignores her completely. He throws the dead dog into the trunk alongside his captive wife and slams it shut. When they arrive at their destination deep in the mountain, the man smashes through a brick wall covering the entrance to a hidden cave. He drags his wife inside and leaves her there. As the man and his mistress start walking back to the car, they suddenly freeze. They hear the wife's voice calling out from inside the cave. The man nervously removes a loose brick from the wall to peek inside. He hears his wife's voice again. But then he hears something that makes his blood run completely cold. He hears other voices too. Multiple voices. And among them, he hears his own voice and his mistress's voice being repeated back to him perfectly. The two of them turn and run in absolute terror, leaving the loose brick on the ground and a small opening in the cave wall behind them. Now the story moves to a family preparing for a fresh start. A woman named Hee-Yun and her husband Minho have made the decision to relocate to Mount Jang. The reason is Hee-Yun's elderly mother-in-law Sun Ja, who suffers from a condition that affects her memory severely. She constantly hears the voices of her dead relatives and often mistakes living people for them. The family hopes the peaceful mountain environment might somehow help Sun Ja's condition improve over time. Hee-Yun carries a heavy sorrow inside her that never goes away. 5 years ago, her young son Junsu went missing while in the care of Sun Ja at a grocery store. One moment he was there holding his grandmother's hand. The next moment Sun Ja was standing alone, clutching the child's toy, staring into empty space. The boy was never found. Hee-Yun has never stopped searching and never stopped hoping. Shortly after arriving at their new home near the mountain, Hee-Yun goes shopping for groceries in town. On the street, she spots a child walking alone, looking unkempt and lost. Then she sees it. The boy is wearing the exact same shoes that belonged to her missing son Junsu. Her heart leaps. She runs after the child desperately, calling out. But she can't catch up and loses him in the crowd. She returns home shaken and emotional, going through Junsu's belongings carefully, searching for any possible clue about his whereabouts. That same evening, she tells Minho that she wants to begin searching for Junsu again. But Minho discourages her with quiet sadness. 5 years have passed, he reminds her gently. The chances of finding the boy alive grow smaller with every passing year. Hee-Yun cries and reminds him of the vow he made to never stop searching. Minho promises to contact the authorities and ask them to keep looking. Tell me the time and country you're watching from. A few days pass and then 2 children, a brother and his sister, knock on Hee-Yun's door. They're searching for their missing dog, a Jindo breed. Hee-Yun tells them their family dog Mung isn't the one they're looking for, but she encourages them to keep searching around the area. The boy then notices a path leading toward the mountain and hears what sounds like a dog barking in that direction. The 2 children follow the sound. Along the way, they come across something deeply unsettling. There's an abandoned car on the path with a damaged windshield completely stained with blood. The children keep walking until they reach the cave entrance. This is the same cave from the beginning of the story. There's a small opening in the brick wall where the loose brick was left behind. The girl gets down and reaches her hand inside, calling out for their dog. Then she shines her phone light through the hole to see better. Her phone rings. Something grabs her and pulls her inside in an instant. The terrified brother stands completely frozen. Then a hand slowly reaches out from the opening toward him. He stumbles back in fear. But moments later, his sister emerges from the hole, seeming completely calm and unharmed. The two children rush back to Hee-yeon and Minho's house and tell them everything about what happened at the cave. Minho decides to go investigate the site himself. As Hee-yeon walks through the surrounding woods near the cave, she suddenly comes across a small girl wandering completely alone. The child looks lost and confused. Hee-yeon tries to talk to her softly, but the girl doesn't respond to anything. When Minho reaches over to touch her shoulder gently, the child immediately recoils and raises her arms to shield herself, as if she's used to being hurt. There's something deeply sad and frightened in the way she carries herself. They suddenly hear the two children screaming for help near the cave entrance. Minho rushes back to help them. Hee-yeon tries to follow, but the mysterious little girl grabs her shirt, trying to stop her from going near the cave. Hee-yeon gently tells the child to wait for her and goes to the cave anyway. Inside, Minho forces open a heavy bolted door in the darkness and peers inside. Suddenly a mutilated woman bursts out and throws herself on top of him, knocking him to the ground. She collapses on him and passes away immediately. The police arrive soon after to investigate the scene. Detective Kim searches through the area around the cave and finds an old photograph. It shows a young girl standing alongside a man. Hee-yeon, exhausted from repeatedly explaining the same events to the police officers, eventually gives up and goes home. That night, there's a gentle knock at her front door. When she opens it, the same mysterious little girl from the woods is standing there in the dark. Hee-yeon's heart goes out to the child immediately. She lets her inside and asks Minho to allow the girl to stay with them for the night. She gives the child a bath and while doing so notices something very disturbing. The girl's small body is covered in signs of physical mistreatment. Old wounds and marks all over her skin. Someone has been hurting this child for a long time. Hee-yeon tries dressing the child in her daughter Junhee's clothes, but they're too big. So she puts the girl in her missing son Junsu's clothes instead. As the girl quietly listens to Hee-yeon and Junhee talk together that evening, she begins doing something strange. She starts copying Junhee's voice exactly. She calls Hee-yeon mom. And she says her name is also Junhee. Her mimicry is so precise and natural that it sends a chill through the room. Meanwhile at the police station, Detective Kim is going through old case files connected to the cave and the surrounding area. What he finds is deeply disturbing. There are numerous missing persons reports filed over many years. And in nearly every single case, before the victims disappeared, they reported hearing the voices of their deceased loved ones calling to them from the direction of the cave. Don't forget to like and subscribe for more content like this. The following morning, both Hee-yeon and Minho wake up noticing a strange irritation in their eyes, like some kind of developing infection. They don't pay much attention to it initially. But then they hear something outside their house. They go out to investigate and find a blind woman walking away from their property. When Hee-yeon calls out to her, the blind woman stops and turns. She tells them to leave this place immediately. She can hear the voices again, she says. This place is dangerous. The family doesn't fully understand what she means and watches her walk away confused. Back inside the house, the mysterious girl sits quietly observing Junhee playing outside through the window. She then perfectly imitates Junhee's laugh and the way she speaks. When Minho goes outside to check on Junhee and hears her cheerful voice coming from nearby, he walks toward it. But then he realizes with unease that the voice he heard was coming from the mysterious girl in the house, not from his actual daughter. Something about this deeply unsettles him. At the police station, Detective Kim tracks down the owner of the abandoned bloody car found near the cave path. When they locate the man, he's already in terrible condition. His vision has been deteriorating rapidly and he keeps hearing voices telling him to come back to the cave. Kim asks him questions about the woman found dead inside the cave, but the man barely responds. When the man gets home that evening, he hears knocking sounds coming from inside a closed cabinet. When he opens it, he hears his wife's voice desperately asking him for help. He collapses to the ground whimpering in absolute terror when he sees two hands appearing in the reflection of his mirror, pressing and pushing as if trying desperately to break through from the other side. Minho raises the issue of the mysterious girl with Hee-yeon, pointing out that she not only looks like their daughter but now sounds exactly like her too. He urges Hee-yeon to take the girl to the police station the next day. Hee-yeon strongly resists this. Her trust in the police was completely destroyed when they failed to find her son 5 years ago. She refuses to hand the child over, fearing they won't take proper care of her. Minho argues that the girl's own parents are probably out there somewhere worried sick about her. Hee-yeon still refuses. That same night, Sun-ja begins hearing the voice of her dead brother calling to her from the direction of the covered mirror in her room. Then she hears her dead sister's voice too. Because of her illness, she has completely forgotten that both her siblings passed away long ago. She follows the voices outside the house and into the darkness toward the cave, guided by something she cannot see or understand. The next morning the family searches frantically everywhere for Sun Ja, but she is nowhere to be found. When Minho goes into her room to look for clues, he notices something strange about the mirror. The surface appears to be dripping with liquid, and yet when he touches the mirror itself it's completely dry. He peels away strips of tape that were covering the glass and reveals two clear handprints pressed against the mirror from the inside. Minho then goes to ask the mysterious girl directly if she knows anything about Sun Ja's whereabouts. Shortly after this conversation, Minho himself goes missing without any explanation. Hee-yeon reports both disappearances to the police in a panic, telling them something very strange and supernatural is happening in this town. When she mentions the mysterious girl from the woods, Detective Kim asks to speak with her immediately. But the child has also vanished from the house without a trace. Detective Kim then shows Hee-yeon the old photograph he found near the cave. Hee-yeon confirms without any doubt that the girl in the picture is the same child she took into her home. But Kim tells her something that makes her feel cold all over. The photograph was taken in the 1980s. Decades ago. Yet the child hasn't aged a single day. Let me know in the comments which Korean horror movie I should cover next. With growing desperation and fear, Hee-yeon searches the woods calling out for Junhee. The blind woman she encountered before suddenly appears and takes her quietly back to her home. There, the blind woman finally reveals the full truth about what has been terrorizing this mountain town for decades. The entity responsible for all the disappearances is known as the Jangsan tiger. It's a supernatural creature of Korean folklore that has the power to perfectly mimic human voices to lure victims to its lair. But the tiger haunting this particular mountain is far more terrifying than any ordinary legend. This one can possess a human body and use their deepest emotions, guilt, grief, and longing against them to draw them toward the cave. Years ago, the blind woman explains, there was a shaman who came to Mount Jang and began worshipping the Jangsan tiger, seeking its power. The tiger chose him as its vessel. As this shaman gained supernatural abilities, he began using them for dark rituals. He grew cold and distant from his own young daughter, who cried constantly for her missing mother. Eventually the shaman used his own innocent daughter as a ritual sacrifice to summon the tiger's full power. He locked the terrified child inside a ritual drum during a ceremony and completed his dark ritual. After that, both the shaman and his daughter vanished from the town entirely. And the disappearances of ordinary villagers began almost immediately afterward. The blind woman tells Hee-yeon something crucial. The girl is connected to the shaman. Wherever the child appears, the shaman follows shortly. The entity uses people's greatest vulnerabilities against them. Their guilt, their anger, their deepest longing for someone they've lost. She warns Hee-yeon that people usually start losing their eyesight when the girl appears among them because the tiger slowly drains their life energy through her presence. She presses a protective talisman into Hee-yeon's hand and urges her to use it for temporary protection. Hee-yeon runs home as fast as she can to find her daughter. At the house, Junhee has woken up and noticed the irritation in her own eyes getting worse. She hears what sounds like her mother's voice calling to her from the bathroom. She slowly pushes the bathroom door open. The possessed shaman is emerging from the mirror inside. Junhee screams and runs, hiding in the shed. Inside the shed, she finds the mysterious girl already there. The girl holds up a broken piece of mirror and imitates Hee-yeon's voice to calm and guide Junhee to safety rather than lead her to the cave. When Hee-yeon finally reaches home and finds both girls hiding together in the dresser, Junhee tells her mother that the strange girl actually saved her from the shaman. This surprises Hee-yeon deeply. She remembers what the blind woman told her. The child knows the way to the tiger's territory. She's the only one who does. If Hee-yeon wants to find Minho and Sun Ja and bring them home safely, she needs the girl's help. She asks the girl to take her to the cave. But the child becomes frightened and reluctant. She knows the shaman will hurt her for helping. She asks Hee-yeon to promise her something very important. Promise that you'll protect me and never leave me alone. Hee-yeon promises without hesitation. Before they leave, Hee-yeon covers all the mirrors throughout the house with cloth. She warns Junhee to trust no voice she hears and to call Detective Kim if her mother doesn't return by the next morning. At the cave entrance, the mysterious girl turns to Hee-yeon and tells her one vital rule. No matter what you hear inside that cave, do not respond to any voice. Not even if it sounds like someone you love. They enter the dark cave together. Almost immediately, Hee-yeon starts hearing voices. She hears Minho's voice. She hears Junhee's voice. Then she hears what sounds like Junhee screaming in pain and she instinctively calls out to her. The girl grabs her arm desperately, begging her not to respond. The possessed shaman suddenly emerges from the darkness and chases them through the narrow cave passages. He almost catches Hee-yeon as she crawls through a tight space, but the girl pulls her through to safety just in time. They find themselves inside a large chamber deep in the cave. The walls are covered entirely in mirrors. Voices come at them from every direction, overlapping and confusing. Hee-yun covers her ears trying to block them out and leans against one of the large mirrors. The shaman emerges from the darkness and places his hands on her. He begins slowly pulling her backward into the mirror itself. Just as she's being dragged inside, Minnow suddenly appears. He has gone completely blind by this point, but he grabs a heavy object and smashes the mirror with all his strength. The mirror shatters completely. Minnow finds her in the darkness and tells her urgently to climb up through the hole above them to escape. He'll guide her from below. As Hee-yun struggles to climb upward in the dark, her phone rings. It's Detective Kim. She answers and cries out for help, telling him their location. She loses her grip on the wall. She feels someone grab her hand and hears Detective Kim's voice telling her he's there. But when she looks up, she's holding onto the shaman's hand. She releases her grip and falls back down to the cave floor. Minute Ho, Hee-yun, and the girl crawl desperately through a narrow passage trying to reach the cave exit. As they near the way out, the mysterious girl calls out to Hee-yun from behind. Minnow grabs Hee-yun's arm and warns her sharply not to trust the girl. But the child wraps her arms around Hee-yun and pleads with her not to break her promise. Not to leave her alone again. Hee-yun's vision has been fading this entire time. She can barely see anything now. She walks out of the cave with Minnow, leaving the child behind. As she steps toward the exit, she hears something that stops her completely. A small voice. Her son's voice. Jun-soo. He's calling to her, asking her to stay, telling her he needs her. Minnow holds her firmly and tells her the voice is not real. It's not Jun-soo. It's the tiger using her grief against her. But Hee-yun cannot resist. The longing she has carried for 5 years is too powerful. Too deep. She turns back. With her almost completely faded vision, she runs toward the child and wraps her arms around her, speaking to her as if she is finally holding her lost son Jun-soo again. Minnow makes it out of the cave alone and finds Detective Kim waiting outside. Inside the cave, the mysterious girl guides Hee-yun deeper and deeper into the darkness. The girl's longing for a mother who truly cares for her is finally satisfied. And Hee-yun's desperate need to hold her son one more time pulls her further away from any chance of escape. In the final scene, the cave entrance is completely sealed and covered over. From somewhere deep inside, the voices of Hee-yun and her son can faintly be heard still talking to each other. And with that haunting sound, the story ends. The Jangsan tiger is a creature from real Korean folklore, known for mimicking human voices to lure people deep into the forest. But the version in this story is something far more personal and cruel. It doesn't just imitate voices. It reaches inside the hearts of people and finds the one thing they cannot let go of. And then it uses that love to consume them completely. The mysterious child was never truly evil. She was a victim herself, trapped between the tiger and the shaman, longing desperately for warmth and love. In the end, both she and Hee-yun found what they were searching for. Just not in the way either of them hoped.